was like for the 89th time.
So Commissioner, I would say I should not touch it when we do the transition, and I'll let you do that.
Who's counting?
I'm going to call this police commission meeting to order. The time is 5:34. Okay. And I do have a copy of the proof of posting for the secretary. If everyone would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. For everyone that's here this evening, if you have an agenda, you can see that item 4 on the agenda is for the presentation of the Hooksett Police Department audit. Earlier in the year, the police commission commissioned an audit of the police department's organization and operations, and the commitment was made by the police commission that we would reveal the findings of the audit to the community. About 3.5 weeks ago, the question was posed to us whether or not we were still planning on doing that. And this evening, you have with us this evening the people from Public Safety Strategies Group, who are going to give us a report of the audit that they've done over the last couple of months. Before I even hand it over to Kim Craven from Public Safety Strategies Group, there are a couple of things housekeeping things that I'd like to discuss with the audience here this evening. First of all, Kim is going to be giving the presentation with regards to the findings from the audit. And I would ask the audience if they would hold off asking any questions while she's giving her presentation and wait till the conclusion of the presentation for questions. The questions will be handled in the manner that we have some index cards here. And what we're asking folks to do, that if you have particular questions, to write your questions down. And the questions will be answered. Any questions that are basically similar, we'll group those together. But it is our hope that we can get as many questions as we can answered. So I would ask for your indulgence that if you do have questions while you're listening that you've thought of that you'd like to ask from Public Safety Strategies Group, that you write those questions down, and we'll get to those questions. We reserve the right that if this goes on for too long, that we will cut it short, because we also have our regular scheduled police commission meeting here this evening. So we do have other business to conduct. But like I said, if you have questions, here are the, I'm going to put them over there. There are index cards and there are pencils for you. So given that, I'm going to pass it on to Kim Craven from Public Safety Strategies Group. And if you would introduce your group, and we'll go from there. And thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner McHugh. I'm Kim Craven. I'm the Director of Public Safety Strategies.
I'm Rick, Public Safety Strategies. Marilyn's Public Safety Strategies.
Before I start to discuss with you the findings and recommendations of the report, I'd just like to remind you of where we've been with this study. So it started some months ago with getting to know about the Hooksett Police Department. We had a meeting with the Commission that was a public meeting to discuss what we would be doing in terms of process. So we took a look at all different aspects of the police organization, from the administrative levels, policies, procedures, org charts, data, anything that they could produce for us to take a look at. We spent a lot of time in here interviewing every department member. We interviewed past members. We interviewed elected officials, appointed officials, department heads from other municipal agencies, and interested stakeholders. As we started down the process, there were more and more people that wanted to join in, and unfortunately, we had to, at some point, call that we had a really good understanding of what folks believe were the issues surrounding the Hooksett Police Department, and we had spent a lot of additional time with department members understanding how they were operating here in Hooksett. We also did a set of surveys, one for the civilian members, one for the sworn members, and one for the past members. We also did one for the community at large. So not only were we hearing you in a form of one-on-one interviews, we also were given the opportunity for folks that might not have had an opportunity to sit with us one-on-one to go ahead and give us some feedback about their thoughts and perceptions of the organization. We were able to extract the data from their CAD, their computer-aided dispatch and record management system, so that we could take a look at what was happening over time from 2006 through 2010 on what the calls for services were like and where they were distributed in the town. So we took a lot of information and distilled it down into a lot of representative categories. And what we're going to show you is high-level key findings and recommendations. There's lots of nuances with police organizations. If we were to tell you every little bit, we'd be here for a week, but this really captures the essence of the things that we have found here in Hooksett. Commissioner, if you want to. As the Commissioner brings that forward, the one thing that we would like for the folks to know is that we are giving a lot of finding and recommendations on the organization in its totality, but I hope that everyone can sit back and remember that this organization has hired good people, there are good officers and support staff within this organization, and that you need to look at this as a collection of information that helps the department move forward, and it's not against any individual that is working on patrol or within this building. So the organizational culture, we look at some key factors when assessing organizational culture, pride and training, and what we see in the hallways. And what we find in this organization is things sort of stopped at a point in time and it showed us that this was a unified organization. The culture of the organization is poorly developed. There's not a lot that's gone into the strategy for training, a strategy for communication. There's distrust throughout the organization, at the lowest, the highest, internal, external. It's certainly something that's very present, and that's all feeds into the organizational structure. Bringing pride back to the organization is a key point of shaping the organizational culture. One of the other pieces is the record keeping and use of technology. What we have found is that the department has poor use of records, poor use of technology. Things are not automated here. When you look at things like the ability for them to share information with us, a lot of it was based on PDF files. So for an organization, that makes it very difficult for them to actually be able to plan. If there's things that they have to hand search, it's time consuming. It doesn't lend for them to really operate as an efficient organization. Things have to be brought up to speed. There has to be an investment in the basic tools that an organization would use to manage its personnel, its files, all of the information that we would capture in order to run an organization. The website and transparency of the organization. What we have found is that the website itself doesn't tell a story about the department itself. It's outdated. There's not a lot of information on there. People that want to find out about what the police department is doing, they can't do so. So there needs to be a proper website. There needs to be some use of technology that's linked to a website, which is emails for personnel. The officers and command staff support staff, they need to be able to communicate in a timely fashion with folks. Getting them a simple email address would be helpful. Putting information out for community review, letting people know what this department is doing. Sharing that information leads to a transparent government. And there's not anything on there now, like I said, that really tells the story of Hooksett Police and what they're trying to do in the community. The organizational structure, it doesn't maximize the use of the sworn personnel. Currently, there's sworn personnel that are taking on administrative tasks and roles within the organization itself. So we understand there's limited budgets in policing. There's limited number of police officers, and they should be doing things that only sworn personnel should do. So we suggest that positions like the lieutenant's position, which is administrative, is civilianized. We would also, instead of having a little bit of hierarchy in the organization, just start to reduce some of the command staff ranks so that there's more officers on the street and more supervision for those officers. In a paramilitary organization, there needs to be effective use of chain of command. Here in Hooksett, the chain of command is circumvented often. There's information that is policing in nature that goes externally to the community. There's information that goes right up to the commission without utilizing the proper chain of command. We understand some of the circumstances around why that happened, but in order for a department to run efficiently and effectively, the chain of command has to be respected. There's a process that needs to be put in place, policies and procedures to reflect that, and adherence to it at all levels. One of the things that we've started to do is try to change what's on the bottom is developing that the trust and the respect so that things can be done in the chain of command. If people believe that they're heard, that their message, their concerns are taken up through the ranks of the administration to the commission, and anything that they need addressed is addressed through that process. So the patrol division, you have a couple of things going on here. Like I said, you have good officers. They were trained well at the academy, they were successful. But one of the things that has happened is now that there's a lack of supervision at the patrol level. Not all patrol positions are filled. There's the scheduling piece of where you have administrative lieutenants and other lieutenants working during the day and not in the evening when they're most needed by the patrol force. And one of the things that's happened over the years is there's been a limiting of the discretion for the supervisors. It's very much a process that they have to go to follow certain procedures, and in policing, there's a level of discretion that's needed. And in order for these officers to grow as supervisors, they need to exercise that discretion. They need to put leadership to the task to be out there doing things that are proper, but doing things that are going to help them learn and grow as well. They can't always be told what to do. One of the things is to put the patrol schedule, the patrol lieutenant, into a schedule that reflects the need of when the officers are working, put them at that the time when it's most likely that more critical calls would take place and that further guidance might be needed. Give patrol sergeants the tools that they need to be successful in their careers. We'll talk about training in a bit. The other part that's been discussed quite at length, even in the public eye here, is the whole process of an OIC, an officer in charge. It is a natural course of action in an organization of this size that in the absence of a sergeant, there would be an officer in charge. In order to have that work effectively, you need to have a training process in place. People need to know what their expectations are, and it needs to be assigned and rotated in a way that's practical, a way that's known, in order to give those officers the opportunity to learn those skills. If we don't use an OIC program, no one can learn what it's like to be at that next rank. So this gives them the opportunity, but it also comes with training. All right. The dispatch piece of it appears to be functioning well. In any organization, there's always small pieces of things that people discuss that they want better, but there's an investment in their technology that's happening. People understand that in order to have an efficient dispatch system, you have to have the right tools in place. One of the things that ran true is just like the patrol force, they were not getting the training. So that's an